So, hello everyone. I'm Kashmir, as you know.
Padilla.
I'm Tazrin Ahmed.
And together we're here to educate you about underage drinking as part of HOSA's Emotional Wellbeing Challenge.
So what is the HOSA Emotional Wellbeing Challenge? Well, basically, it tasks high schoolers with the opportunity to research a mental health issue and eventually make a presentation and provide it to a target audience and see how the target audience perspective changes.
Alright, so this is just a brief overview of what we're going to be doing today. We won't dwell on this for too long. Alright, y'all. So, first of all, let's define underage drinking. So, as the name suggests, underage drinking is drinking before the minimum legal drinking age. And in the US, that's 21. And I know some of you guys are thinking, like, why is it so high? Other European countries have a drinking age between 16 and 18. And so there's a couple of reasons for this. According to the CDC, it helps reduce the amount of motor vehicle crashes. In states that had the legal drinking age of 21 before it was officially nationalized, they saw a 16% decrease in vehicle crashes. That's one of the reasons. The second, more important reason is to improve community health. The intention of having a higher drinking age is to lower the rates of suicides and homicides.
Now, why are we giving this presentation in the first place? So, since we live in New Mexico, it is it's the number one state for the most consumption of alcohol under the age of 13. Alcohol is also the number one abused drug in teenagers. It is important for high schoolers to get a proper education on this topic, and if they don't, they'll be unaware of the severity of underage, like the consequences of underage drinking. They might also lack awareness at home, so this is why we also need to educate our students on underage drinking. Kids who are victims of underage drinking could be peer pressured by other students in their school.
So let's go over some of the relevant statistics of underage drinking or alcohol consumption. In 2022, 5.8% of New Mexico residents ages 12 to 20 reported drinking in the past month, which is still pretty crazy because it is illegal. And 9% of those reported binge drinking. And what is binge drinking? Well, it's 4 or more drinks for people assigned female at birth, or 5 or more for people assigned male at birth. And with binge drinking, it can cause injury to internal organs, deterioration of white matter, which helps process information.
And all of you, here's a graph from the CDC. It was 30 days ago at the time that we got the graph. And it's basically showing most used drugs by teenagers. And as you can see, alcohol is the topmost.
Right, here are the relevant statistics of alcohol-related deaths. So teenagers tend to binge drink, and according to CDC, excessive drinking costs the U.S. government $295 billion in 2010, which is the most recent of this kind of data. Alcohol was involved in 42% of motor vehicle crashes, 46% of homicides, and 28% of suicides. The factors of death is 1,000 annually. 1,045 of underage of vehicle crashes. 5,998 homicides and 177 overdoses, falls, burns, and drowning, and 649 suicides.
So, underage drinking in the media. I'm sure many of you have seen certain advertisements or movies that deal with underage drinking. And basically, a lot of these movies, they normalize it. Main characters don't face any consequences with it. Drinking can be seen as cool and fun, or it just shows the portrayal of fear of missing out. And also, there can be alcohol advertising. So often, Super Bowl commercials have attractive pool parties where alcohol is involved. And finally, and as well as celebrity endorsements, which many underage people find or follow. And as finally as social media. Certain social media handles such as Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, certain alcohol companies have these accounts and they produce certain advertisements of that may seem attractive. And a lot of people who use social media are underage. And finally, there's also certain TV shows that are supposedly for young adults, but deal with a lot with underage drinking without any consequences.
All right, so just a few quick questions before we go ahead. Raise your hand if you use any of those social medias on a regular basis. Now, I want you to raise your hand if you've seen any of the shows listed above. All right, thank you. All right, so you may be wondering, what's the whole point of this presentation? What exactly is so dangerous about underage drinking? You know, like, it's pretty normalized in our culture, it's normalized in media, plenty of you have seen it, and there's a couple of reasons. So first things first, research shows that underage drinking can lead to an increase in suicide rates, especially for women, as evidenced in the study linked above. Alcohol disrupts your brain processing, so your cognitive and your behavioral patterns. Right now, all of you are ninth graders. All of you are still growing, developing, and maturing into the adults you're going to want to be. Alcohol can inhibit that process. Alcohol can inhibit a lot of things in your life. The hippocampus, the part of the brain responsible for memory and learning, very important things, especially in an educational background. That hippocampus is 10% smaller in underage drinkers than those who don't drink. So keep that in mind. Second of all, if you drink, you are much more likely to get into injuries and accidents, especially vehicle accidents. Now, you may be thinking, so what's the big deal? You know, you'll be careful, you'll be fine, you'll be safe. Think about what happens on the chance that something does happen. Think about the toll it'll have on your family, on your friends, on the people who love and care about you. Third of all, it negatively influences your academic performance. So I'm assuming a lot of you guys are college bound. You want to go to a college, you want to have a great time. Things like underage drinking that impact your cognitive processes can affect your grades and your likelihood for employment or even getting into college. So that's something else to keep in mind. And finally, people who drink at a younger age are much more likely to develop an alcohol use disorder. Alcoholism is dangerous. It affects your body and the people around you. And trying to quit is difficult. Don't put yourself in that position. Withdrawal is can be life-threatening.
Now, you might be wondering, how do we get help? So there are some resources available if you or someone close to you are struggling with underage drinking. SAMHSA, which stands for Substance Abuse Mental Health, offers a treatment referral and guidance. You can also seek emotional support from trusted adults such as parents, teachers, mentors, and etc. You can also talk with a counselor. So here for 8-9 school counselors, we have Miss Bowman and Miss Dragon, and their emails are up on the screen. I plan into going into the medical field in the future, and I would really like to help others to grow and heal from their mistakes and live a healthier life.
I also am more aware of underage drinking than I was before, just by researching stats and effects of underage drinking. So I don't ever participate in this kind of activity.
Hi, my name is Kiara, and this is going to benefit me because as someone who wants to go into the medical field someday, I value gaining more knowledge as relevant topics such as underage drinking. I also appreciate learning certain statistics and effects of underage drinking so I can personally gain knowledge on the topic.
Hi, I'm Kashri Rai, and I believe that giving this presentation and educating my peers is going to benefit me since I'm a person who aims to go into healthcare and is particularly interested in public health. Having the opportunity to do this presentation in front of my peers provided me with experience in educating others, and it also allowed me to spread awareness of this serious topic, underage drinking. I thought it was particularly relevant since underage drinking is pretty prevalent in New Mexico. I also managed to develop my research skills through this presentation by looking up statistics and facts in medical studies, so that also gave me experience in that point. Thank you.
Before our pre-evaluation tool, we sent out a Google form to all the listeners asking certain questions such as, on a scale of 1 to 10, how aware are you of the risks of underage drinking before the presentation? How aware are you of the tools and resources of underage drinking? And aware were you about underage drinking before the presentation? And then for our post-evaluation tool, we asked the same questions just to see what the difference was with with the second Google form. And this was just administered after the presentation. So we asked the questions, how aware are you about underage drinking? How much did you learn about underage drinking from our presentation? How aware are you of the tools and research? And how aware are you of the risks of underage drinking now? Here are the results from our evaluation tool. So with the questions such as, how are you aware of the risks of underage drinking before the presentation? Before versus after, there was a 4.9% increase of level 10 understanding, while there was a 4% increase in level 9 understanding. And for the next question, how are you aware of the tools and resources of underage drinking? Before versus after, there was an 18.8 increase of level 10 understanding and a 13.1 decrease in level 1 understanding. And finally, how aware were you about underage drinking before the presentation versus how much did you learn about underage drinking from our presentation? 7.8% increase of level 9 understanding, and 30.5% listeners found this presentation extremely informative.
Thank you guys so much for listening for our presentation. We're extremely grateful for you guys as an audience. So now you can open up your Chromebooks and do the survey after. And thank you so much.